Ross Dellinger, breaking news from Yahoo Sports. Details on a college model that may cost power schools $300 million each over the next 10 years. There is a story right now, yahoosports.com. Scholarship expansion, new roster limits, a $17 to $22 million revenue sharing cap per year, $2.9 billion in damages owed, a deadline in 40 days, implementation no sooner than the fall of 2025. I told you this was coming and it wasn't going to take long. So this right here is what we've been waiting on. This is a fundamental, like ground-altering moment for college football and college athletics. I talked to a high-level athletic director a couple of weeks ago and said, this stuff's happening. They've known this is coming for a little while, so it's not taking anyone by surprise. But I said, that stuff's happening. What happens with Title IX? What happens with the non-revenue sports, the Olympic sports? And he said, I don't know. And this is one of the bigger names in the industry. They don't know. Even as this story is breaking right now, we are looking at fundamentally altering what you have known and what I have known college football to be. Do you understand what I just said? A $17 to $22 million revenue share cap. What I just described to you is a salary. So we were talking about Georgia a second ago. Instead of us sitting here and talking about NIL, which will still exist to a certain degree, imagine Kirby Smart sitting there with $20 million to spend on a roster per year, and then Hugh Freeze has that, and then Josh Heupel has that, and Shane Beamer has that. Why do they have it? Not because they fundraised. It's because they're in the SEC, and that's the money that's being distributed to them to use to pay football players. What? College football? Yeah, that's what we're going to call this now. The deadline and the implementation. I didn't say 4 years. I said the deadline is in 40 days, and the implementation is no sooner than the fall of 2025. This is next year this stuff is coming. It's not down the road, which is one of the things I keep trying to emphasize anytime we've talked about this. It's not on the horizon. It's in your face. It's just you've been driving through fog for a little while, so you didn't know it was right here, but it's here. It's arrived. It's at your door right now. The other thing to keep in mind when you talk about shifting over to an actual revenue distribution model is this stuff is going to be jarring, but one of the themes that I've tried to weave into the shows anytime we've talked about this and how inevitable it is it's not going to be the same in a sense that the sport, outside of Saturdays is going to look different. Saturdays in the fall, it really comes down to, number one, how pristine does that remain? And that's me selfishly talking. But number two, I want you to think about this. So right now, a lot of you are bent out of shape that there's so much player movement. I am too. I don't like it either. And it's not that I don't like that the players are able to do it. I don't like that we don't have a more firm structure in college football. So it's not a blame the players thing. It's a blame folks who dropped the ball for 30 or 40 years thing. So bottom line is, you don't like a lot of it. I don't like a lot of it. You've been asking, how do we fix it? Well, the way that you fix it is not to pass rules against guys moving around. Just like the bowl opt-out thing. I saw some headline the other day where somebody was foolish enough to think you're about to pass a rule that makes guys play in bowl games. Forget about that. Like, how many times do you guys need to get beat over the head in court to realize it's a dead end? Stop. You don't have to do it that way. The way you do this, when you're handing out revenue share, is you dictate the terms of the revenue share. And so there's a way to incentivize. Instead of putting a knife to the back of someone's neck and trying to force them to do something you want them to do, put a carrot on a string and put it in front of their face. Incentivize them with money. That's how you do it. If I'm a freshman at Pate State and I know I've got a certain dollar amount coming my way, but I know it incrementally grows if I'm a sophomore at Pate State and a junior at Pate State, and there's a big payoff if I'm a senior at Pate State. What if I graduate and get my degree at the same school I committed to 4 years ago? No one said it's illegal for me to transfer in that scenario. No one even tried to stand in my way. But I did have it explained to me on this piece of paper I signed when I was a freshman that if you leave for reasons that are other than what are spelled out in your scholarship, coaches leaving you and whatnot. If you just decide to leave on your own, then you'll still get paid, actually. You just won't make nearly as much as you would have in this new backloaded incentive structure. That's how I think this should be done. That's how I think it very well may be done, and we'll see. But a lot of these details coming out right now are fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And don't just gloss over scholarship expansion and new roster limits. Let's see where that goes. Not a lot's been made of that, but that's been something. That's been something that keeps getting brought up to me. I haven't broached it a lot on this show because I don't know the details, but we're about to find out. We're about to find out a whole heck of a lot, you and I, about what the next 30 years of this sport are going to look like. Don't know much other than they're going to look radically different than the previous 30 years. But don't worry, we'll make it. We'll make it together.